very good news, Malc. Some good news and some not so good news. Can I share those with you?
Go on then.
The very good news is, remember the injury I got back on December 31st?
Yeah,
on the heel?
Yes.
Totally recovered.
Perfect.
All right, so that's
awesome.
great. That was the very good news. The good news is I had a great holiday in Cuba.
Yes.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, just had soon I had a great time. Highlight was we went to see a performance of the National Ballet of Cuba.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was really incredible. So anyway, had a great week there. Now the not so good news, I wouldn't call it bad news. I call it not so good news. Is the day before we went to Cuba, I played in a pond hockey tournament,
Right.
in Cochrane. However, on my very first shift, I got my skate stuck in a crack in the ice in the pond, and yeah, I went backwards and I rolled my ankle, Malc. Maybe my pond hockey days are over, but yeah, so we're back here.
Okay.
It's feeling a lot better. We've just done a workout on it.
We did
So
a quick
yeah,
test.
I mean,
quick test,
you had a couple of thoughts about, again, that fine line between not doing anything and doing something, especially an injury like this.
Yeah,
With a rollover on the ankle.
This is something that can be pretty common, especially people out there running on funky surfaces.
Yeah, like
trail running and that kind of stuff. You are prone to potentially rolling your ankle. Basically, the bottom line is the more strength and resilience you build into the structures around the ankle or around any joint, the less likely you are to roll it. Sometimes though, when you get a skate stuck in the ice, there's nothing you can do.
Not good, Malc. No,
Yeah,
it was very unfortunate.
But yeah, there is, in terms of coming back from it relatively quickly, it's just there is a bit of a fine line because we can already tell that you've come back to pain-free walking very quick. So we're not dealing with something here that's like super serious.
No,
we're dealing with something
very fortunate.
Yeah, you're lucky.
Very fortunate.
So you should be able to come back to running pretty quick, but we just need to make sure we don't rush it too much, because what can end up happening sometimes is it doesn't recover fully.
Okay.
You get enough that you can run pain-free, but you can often get stiffness in the range of motion outside of what you do when you run. So often I've seen people like, yeah, I can run, no problem. I watch them run, they can run, no problem. But if you get them to sit down and start to move the ankle joint, for example, through a range, they're like, oh,
I can feel something.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
So that's often if you come back to running or impact or weight bearing exercise too fast, is that you can often adjust back to running, but you haven't dealt with the rest of what's happening in the ankle. So that's what we have to be careful of.
Well, that's good. That's a good point,
Yeah.
because I often hear the comment, "Oh, I'm just going to run through it."
Yeah.
And I've said that myself.
Yeah.
Which you got to be careful of, right?
You have to.
The idea of running through it.
Yeah.
Isn't always a good long-term move, is it?
Yeah, you don't really want that. So what we'll do is basically you're going to test run again on Sunday.
Yeah.
Before that, you're using the elliptical, and we'll just make sure that, like in the next week, 2 weeks, that we still maintain range of motion through the ankle, that it's not getting stiff in certain positions.
Okay.
And we're not just getting completely blinkered to the running position, basically.
Well, and this was the good thing about me coming today. I come every week when I'm here, obviously.
Yeah.
And you assessed it, you looked at it, and basically through a half an hour of doing stretching and monitoring me on the treadmill, you can make that decision. And again, that's kind of tricky if you don't have that kind of one-on-one.
If you're on your own.
Yeah, that's a heck of a call to make.
If you're on your own, most runners are just going to really respond to pain. Is there pain? Isn't there a pain? When does the pain go away? So when do you feel psychologically that you can run it all right? And then probably most runners are going to push it to the limit. So they're going to run to the absolute max they can before something flares up every time. And they're going to go probably quite quick, I would imagine, from like 30 minutes to an hour and a half, pushing it. And the ankle will take it. Like it's quite surprisingly resilient in some ways. Right. It will kind of take it and lead you down that path of like, I'm fine, I'm 100% recovered. But it's amazing how sometimes you can look at people with ankles and start moving it outside of that range that they use when they're running, and then like, oh, that's still stiff, and oh, that's bad. you know, and so they haven't really fully recovered. They've just recovered in one little running niche. So yeah.
Okay, well that's good to know. And as I say, I'll do a test run on Sunday on the treadmill, and I'll be clear. The pathways at the moment in Cochrane are brutal. We got that Thor freeze thing going on. It is absolutely even unwalkable because in our neighbourhood the local town really don't do a lot on the roads that are off the main roads. So you've got to be super careful these days whether you're running or walking.
That's right.
And I guess the other thing to touch on is on winter gear, because we're right really in the middle of winter. I had a question from actually a friend of mine in Sudbury, Ontario about buying things like running tights and so on, and they aren't cheap. I mean, let's be clear. You get a pair of running tights in any of the shops. They're good quality, but they're not cheap. And I mean, what do you think about running gear? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, basically. Obviously there's a lot of gimmick running gear out there. There's a lot of high price running gear which probably isn't worth the money. Ultimately, of course, running should be a pretty cheap sport, like compared to other sports. So really, your contact point with the ground is the most important. That's your shoes. What you're wearing. Yeah,
I'm thinking of top and bottom. Any thoughts on in sort of colder conditions, especially living in Canada, and half our time is in ice and snow.
So I mean, the first thing is not to fuss over it too much in terms of the quality, because really at the end of the day, it's not like you're going to injure yourself by wearing certain types of clothing. It just makes it a bit more comfortable or less comfortable.
Okay.
So that becomes a psychological thing, but in terms of cold weather. You just gotta like always think ahead, right? The people always come unstuck when they just go out the door very quick against the clock, and they're like, "I gotta start running. I gotta be done running in an hour," and they don't think ahead.
A little bit of prep time, 10 minutes before getting the right gear.
Right, and you don't have to be like super hard. You don't have to be hardcore about it. You just have to visualize what's it going to be like 20 minutes into the run. That's all you got to do. Is just think, what's it going to be like 20 minutes into the run when I'm warmed up? Certain parts of your body are going to have limited blood flow in cold condition. The extremities, right?
Well, I suffer in my hands. I'll be blunt with you. If I go out and I have cold hands, and I'm not happy. I'm not happy camper. That my feet are fine, the rest is fine. But if I misjudge whether it's mitts or gloves or hand warmers, it's brutal.
Yeah. So you've got to think like it's just kind of commonsensical. But the body adjusts when you're running. The body adjusts where it's going to send blood to. It's still got to send a lot of blood to the brain. There's still a lot of processing required there, and now it's sending a lot of blood to the muscles, which it wouldn't do when it wasn't running. It takes some blood away from the digestive system, which isn't necessary anymore. So necessary, and it goes to the muscles instead. But peripheral stuff like the fingers, the body's like, well, that's just way down the list of priorities.
Okay, that's.
The feet, surprisingly, are fine compared to the fingers, because they are the contact point with the ground.
Well, that's what I found.
Yeah, and so they're working hard all the time. They require blood flow through stabilisation and balance and everything else. And so they do,
I've never had a problem when I'm running.
Yeah, you can run in some real cold conditions with just a single pair of socks and runners on, and running shoes. Whereas the hands, different game.
Yeah.
You got to help the hands big time, and they're just an upper body extremity that is just low down the priority list.
Yeah.
Whereas then you look at something like the head that generates huge amounts of heat. Heat loss there is massive. The head needs just tons of fuel all the time, the brain. And so then you've got to think 20 minutes down the line, I'm going to be getting really hot around here. So if you have like 10 layers on around here, 20 minutes, that's not going to work. Then you get into the realm of sweating, of course. You have to, again, 20 minutes down the line, when I'm warmed up, I'm not going to be shivering cold anymore. So I'm going to be in the realm of starting to sweat. So...
just to jump in there, and my number one kind of base is a merino wool long sleeve, and I'm sure there's other products, but also merino wool long johns. Yeah. And even when I sweat with those, I don't get cold.
Yeah.
Just to point out.
It's a great fabric. I mean, it's still one of the benchmark fabrics. Is merino wool. You can get some fancy stuff from New Zealand, but it doesn't really matter where you get it from. But it's been around for a long time, and it's still a benchmark fabric because it just is naturally very, very good at dealing with being a base layer, dealing with wicking of moisture away, that kind of stuff.
Good.
I mean, yes, the more fancy the product, the more comfortable you're going to feel like half an hour into the run. But ultimately, it's not actually really going to affect your run. It's just a comfort thing. But yeah, in the cold weather conditions, it's just taking care of certain parts of the body that are susceptible to cold.
Okay.
And number one is absolutely the fingers, because there's just nothing happening there. No one runs and flexes their fingers at the same time. You know, most people run like this.
Yeah.
Right? And the fingers don't move, the hands don't move. The body's not going to send any blood there.
Yeah.
And the other part, of course, is the face is massively exposed, and you know, you kind of just got to experiment, really. Like,
well, I wear a ski mask.
Right. Wow.
Because I've tried the buff, but it's too close to the mouth.
Oh, okay.
So, but a ski mask which is slightly away,
Yeah.
and it gives a little pocket of warm air
Yeah.
as I breathe in. That allows me to go out in minus 20 to minus 25.
Sure. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And obviously, yeah, I've experienced down to minus 50 in different places.
Yeah.
And been a professional ice climber in the past, so
You know,
I can tell you,
right
like,
here
when
makes
it's
a huge
proper
difference.
cold, like.
Yeah.
But the final point is everyone's different. You know, I'm really like a warm-blooded kind of person. I'm like a human radiator, so that means I generate a lot of heat, but I also have huge amounts of heat loss. But if I can hold that heat in, I stay really warm. You know, whereas there's other people who naturally don't generate a lot of heat, you know, in a metabolic sense, and so they need help. They need layers.
So basically, practice and get to know what you need at certain temperatures.
Yeah.
Is that
The biggest thing I see is just people repeat the same mistake.
Yeah.
They go out, they go, oh man, my fingers got so cold. The next week they go out in a rush and they forget
What
that
they
they're
did
supposed to
previous-
adjust from
Yeah.
the previous run. And
No, that's well. I tell you, you know, with the way these pathways are, I'm not going out, so it's good. So we'll say that.
Yeah, we don't need two
We don't
ankles.
we don't need the other one, so I'll be on the treadmill. But I just want to kind of finish off to make a commitment that I will not be doing like the silly stuff. No. I think we're focused. The first race is the middle of April.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
we're sort of 2.5 months away now. So.
But I think it's a really interesting point and a really cool point to share, is that, you know, sometimes you just got to, like, when you've got a goal, like you got a really tough goal for a year. Sometimes when you do like benevolent stuff, you know, you do sort of like do stuff on the side and you kind of help people. It's amazing how many times it can.
Yeah, I think it's a fair comment that this is a little unusual, for me to really have this kind of a stretch goal this big from a running point of view. And so, sometimes it's a tough decision. I mean, as to what to do. But anyway, I'm focused. All right,
Cool,
I'm
cool.
focused.
Perfect.
And we'll get through this, and then continue the training.